Maker's Mark Cellar Aged 2024 has arrived, but is it the king of makers? Let's compare it to last year's release. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So I've got two very special bottles in front of me today. This is the Maker's Mark Cellar Aged 2024 release. I just got this bottle, cracked it open, and I'm ready to review it for you. But I think it's only fair, and since this bottle has had already some reviews come out, most helpful to compare it directly to 2023's release, which I found really delicious, and see how it stacks up. So let's dive into the stats on these two bottles, then we'll go into the 2024, give it a fair shake, and then we'll go right back to the 2023 and see which one comes out on top, which one maybe I would recommend the most, or if there's enough, visible or discernible difference, I will let you know that so that you can see which bottle might be more up your alley. So 2024, let's talk about that. We have got a bottle that is, one, beautiful. Makers does an amazing job with the presentation. This year, the blend is 12 and 13-year-old whiskeys, so that is a tick above last year. The proof point is also a tick above. It is 119.3 proof. This is the same mash bill that Makers does for everything they release. Typically their stuff is in that 6 to 7-year-old range, and they had stayed in that category for a long time. Until last year, the 2023 release came out. They kind of heard the cries of the people, responded with some older whiskey. So this 2023 one is a blend of 11 and 12-year-old whiskeys, so on average about a year younger. Then this year's release, proof point 115.7. Again, they went the extra mile and gave us something that's almost double the age, and now they're stepping it up again. What they do is they take their standard whiskey, that's that 6 to 7-year-old stuff, and they age it for another 6-ish years in a cellar they blew out of the side of a mountain or limestone cellar, and so it's cooler, more controlled experience there. And for what it's worth, they seem to really love what it does to their wheated profile. All right, without further ado, let's dive in. Price point on both of these is $150, so no pretty penny that you're saving here, you're gonna have to spend. And these are both highly allocated, very difficult to find. Let's see if 2024 can, one, stand on its own, and then we'll compare it to the 2023. So on the nose for this 2024. And I did let these open up for about 15 minutes. I would highly recommend doing that for especially these more special, highly allocated and highly proofed whiskeys. All right, on the nose. Okay, it's actually lighter than I was expecting, meaning lighter notes, not that it's not coming out of the glass. Big like sugar cookie. Yeah, caramelized sugars, kind of like that sugar you get dusted on top of a nice sugar cookie. There are some dark fruits underneath, whether it's like a dark black cherry or a plum, something pitted and deep. Some spice. I can detect that this thing's going to have some spice to it. The ethanol is kind of whisked off, but there's still a spicy quality, even on the nose. Vanilla for sure. Yeah, more of that berry juiciness is coming through now. A slight earthiness too. Just a roasted note. Espresso bean, something like that. All right, but it's most dominated by, I would say, some of those dark fruits, but especially the highest register here is that sugar cookie caramelized sugar experience. All right, let's go in on the palate. Cheers. Oh, it's good. Spicy though. This is 119 proof. This might be the spiciest Makers I've ever tasted. I mean, it just washed over my tongue. and had all this prickly pop rocks kind of effect on the front of my tongue especially. Once you get through that experience, which I'm not saying is unpleasant, but it definitely took me a little bit aback. Once you get through that, it really starts to sweeten up. You get that caramelized sugar, and I am getting this plum, cherry, dark cherry experience, almost like juice, like I just drank some juice. It's really coating on the sides of the cheeks, but it's sort of a bright sweetness. Really interesting how it went spicy, maybe even a little bit more of the oak up front, and then I get all the sweetness, the caramelized sugar, and the berries. Lots of berries. All right, now that we've got it on the palate, let's go in for a second sip, see if we can pick out some more flavors here. Very promising start, though. All right, cheers. Okay. Now some new layers have revealed themselves a bit. Chocolate, definite, more of a dark chocolate experience on that sip. The spice was still there. The sweetness is still lingering as that, like, I just had a glass of grape juice or dark cherry. That's very interesting. But the chocolate came through, and a little bit more of a roasty experience as well. A bit of a, I don't know if it's espresso bean, might just be a roasted nut, like a roasted pecan kind of experience. And then something creamy too, maybe the slightest touch of like a coconut experience. Not that that's prominent on the sip, but I think there's just an extra layer of it. All right, so that's pretty dang good stuff. Very, very good. Justifying its $150 to me. It's powerful, very, very tasty. Before we go in for our third sip, which we traditionally do and really evaluate the whiskey overall, I'm going to hop over to the 2023 and do a little comparison here. So let me get some water, refresh my palate, and then we'll talk about 2023 right next to 2024. Okay, so let's go right over to 2023 now and see. A little bit younger, a little bit lower proof. Might just have a different experience here. Let's see what we get on the nose. Okay. So surprisingly, I think this one has a little more ethanol punch, and it registers at a deeper tone. It's very related to 2024, so don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm in a totally different ballpark here, but it feels like a deeper, darker caramel. More chocolate on the nose for me here. Strain of vanilla. Still the dark berries, or the dark pitted fruit like a plum. That's definitely there. So, really interesting. This one gives off cellar vibes. I know that sounds weird, but I feel like I get this musty, deeper tone to it. Maybe it's a little bit more oak, but it doesn't have that caramelized sugar cookie highest register note on the nose. It's more of those dark tones. It's almost like if you took the 2024, took away that really bright sugar note, and just sort of let that cellar experience shine through a little bit more. So it's not necessarily better, but it is different in a notable way. All right, let me go in on the palate here. Cheers. Yeah. Wow. So I'll just walk you through the mouthfeel experience. They're both very coating. The 2023 though has like a coolness to it. It's more that plum. The chocolate is more prominent, sort of a dark cherry as well. So similar vibe, but it does not have the spice that the 2024 has. In fact, it's a much more cool, easygoing experience on the palate. Now, that might be because I've also tasted the 2024 first and my palate was ready, but just generally, I don't get the Pop Rocks effect. I get more of just like a dense, sort of rounded experience here. So it's got some of the same similar vibes as 2024, but again, it feels a little bit more mellow. It's less proof for sure, and it doesn't have, again, that like higher register. Same experience here where I got the wash of more of the oak, a little bit of spice, and then it sweetens up. And I go back to the nose now, and it's got even more of that like earthy cellar quality. Very interesting how 2024, though it's older, has some of the brighter notes and more spice. All right, let's go back in for a second sip here on the 2023 and see how it continues to develop. Cheers. Yeah, that's all chocolate covered cherry, caramel, deeper dark caramel, and just all registers at this lower, more rounded experience. Then you get to the 2024. Yeah, and even going to the nose. Fascinating. This one I would say is denser, the 2023. But the 2024 has this alluring, attractive, sugary, caramelized sweetness. All right, I'm gonna go in for one last sip on the 2024. Let me get some water, I'll refresh my palate again. We'll go in for one last sip and then we will do our full breakdown. Okay, final showing for the 2024. Here we go, cheers. Okay, All right, so what would I say overall for these two? I do think they're significantly different. It's like they're brothers, but they have different personalities, you know? I think the 2024, just to start there, because that's the main focus of the video, is very, very good. That sip, I was really focused on the finish, focused on the overall experience, how long it lasts. And I'd actually say that might be the weak link, if there is a weak link in this experience here, this bourbon. I think the 2023 has a more slow rolling, developing power to it that comes through on the finish. Contrast that with the 2024, which has this more bright, in your face, front of the mouth, overwhelming, cool pop rocks effect, and then mellows out into a cool sweetness. Whereas the 2023 kind of has a mellow experience throughout that kind of builds and rides with you into the finish. So they're different in that way. I think the 2024 has the better nose. I think that because it has those same dark, rich notes as the 2023, but it also brings that very strong caramelized sugar, it's just a more attractive nose. The 2023, you gotta dig a little bit more. Palate-wise, I think front of the palate, I'd probably give to the 2024 just for its power, and the spiciness is surprising but also very tasty. I think overall roundedness, overall feeling like it's a well put together product that stays with you for a while, I'd probably give it to the 2023 just today based on this tasting. Hope that helps everybody. I think both are really, really good. Both justify $150, especially the current market. I'm glad I have both. The 2024 is definitely going in my Whiskey of the Year bracket. Interested to see how it holds up. I bet that spiciness to it is going to lend itself well to a blind among a lot of different components and products. 2023, though, is still very special. So if you see that one and you like what you heard, and it's even possible to grab it again, I definitely think that's a spectacular whiskey. 2024, I'm also interested to see how it does when it opens up. Obviously, this has had almost a year to really develop in the bottle, so maybe 2024 tames down a little bit and gets even better. All right, hopefully that helps everybody. Would love to know in the comments below if you've tasted the 2024 so far and what you think, or if you've also been able to taste the 2023 and you've compared it to the 2024, which one came out on top, which one do you lean toward or prefer? I think Makers is on the right track offering us these releases. Last thing I'll say, I know I've talked a lot in this video, is just, if you think about it, these are about double what you'd pay for one of their 6 to 7 year old special release wood finishing series, or one of their sort of ambassador bottles, any of that kind of range. They're more special, tailored offerings. I do think they're double as interesting. Now, Compare this to something like BRT or Barrel Entry Proof, one of those bottles. Those are still really, really good, and for 70 bucks, they're one of the better values on the market. For 150 bucks, these two bottles are just, they have more layers to them. They're more for a collector who wants to experience Makers at its most complex and greatest age, and I think both deliver on that. So that's everything I can possibly say in this video. I've been rambling a lot, but enjoying it too. Hopefully you have been too. If that's true, please hit the like button on this video. That's what gets it out to the most people. And if you haven't subscribed already to the Bourbon Hutch, join us for the rest of 2024 and beyond. Till I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey and cheers.